Okay, I'm informed that there's a problem with the Panopto session for the Hebrew Legacy 4, and although I am at quite some distance from the College of Central Florida, nowhere close, you might be surprised to discover where I am. And just in case you don't get the wrong impression, I'm definitely not on vacation, but decidedly not on vacation. But through the wonders of the internet and the World Wide Web, I'm going to be able to fill in the gaps. Well, you got started learning about the judges. Um, there's a time when there's no government, no political system, that kind of thing. The bad guys show up, and the people have to wait until somebody stands up and says, I'm anointed to be a judge. And I was just at the point of telling you about this word judge, as the first thing you need to know about what I just said there. And I left off, or that Panopto session broke, right at the point where I was telling you that because the story has been told over and over again, that some old-fashioned words have gotten stuck to the story. Well, judge is one of these words. Today, we limit that word judge to someone in a courtroom, like, I'm not used to this computer either. Here we go. To a judge, like Judge Joe Brown or Judge Judy or one of those kind of judges. That was a honeybee. There he is back again. Okay, there's a clue. I'm somewhere in a place where there are honeybees around. Judges. And a cat of some sort. Judges. Today we kind of limit them. Okay, you've gotten to see Judge Joe Brown and Judge Judy. That word judge simply means anyone authorized to make decisions. And although today we kind of limit that to someone in a courtroom, in a civil case or a criminal case or a probate case or what have you, then it might be misleading if you think about that. That be kind of through me. Okay, that's the stuff that's kind of important. Not really all that important, so that was okay for the B to show up. The really important part, though, is the word anointed. That's the really important part here. This concept of anointing is going to show up over and over again in the course. The word anointed, the English word anointed, means chosen to do a special job. It simply means chosen to do a special job. In this context, of course, it means chosen by God to do a special job. And so when someone stands up and says, God has anointed me to be a judge, what they're really saying is God's chosen me to be the leader. But of course, these people are pretty smart. They know that not everybody who stands up and says God's chosen me to be the leader actually has been chosen by God to be the leader. And so usually there's a time of testing and demonstrating that this person really has been chosen to be a judge. And so the people have to wait until somebody says God's chosen me to be the leader. Now, there's a variety of judges. There are male judges and female judges and old judges and young judges and one judge who isn't even a Hebrew person at all. I think there are 17 judges. I think there's 17 mentioned by name, and the implication is that there are some others as well. But the people have to wait until someone stands up and says, God's anointed me to be a judge. And then after a time of testing or demonstrating that this person really has been chosen to be the judge, then in a simple ceremony, usually before the representatives of the big families among the people, one of the religious leaders, usually the high priest, usually we tend to use the word priest. It's an old English word. It means older person, elder, to translate the Hebrew word here. But a priest gets up and in a simple ritual before representatives of the big families among the people, he takes a little bit of olive oil, maybe just a teaspoon, and he pours it over the head of the person who's been chosen to be the judge. And that application of olive oil is a symbol to everyone that now this person is recognized as the judge. This person does have the authority to go out and take care of the bad guys or deal with whatever problem is out there. B is back. Oh well. If I jump up real fast, you'll know why. So, this concept of anointing and the application of olive oil. The application of olive oil as a symbol that this person has been anointed becomes so connected to the idea of being anointed that even in the English word anointed, the idea of oil is buried in the word. The oint part of the word here, the oint part of the word there comes from an old Latin word that means oil. Just like ointment, medicine that's in an oil base so that the medicine sticks to where your injury is. So the idea of oil is buried here right in the English word anointed. Now the word anointed doesn't mean olive oil. It means chosen to do a special job. But the idea of olive oil being applied to the head becomes so connected to anointed, the concept of anointing, that even the English word anointed has the concept of oil in it. Well, now we have, and like I said, this concept of anointing is going to be very important. It's going to show up several times in our story this semester. Well, now there's a judge. Now the judge has been anointed. Now the judge has the authority to go around to raise an army, to recruit an army, and then chase away the bad guys. But it's not a very effective system. It's not a very efficient system. First, the bad guys show up. Then the people have to sit around and wait. They have to wait until somebody says, I'm anointed to be a judge. They have to wait for a time of testing and trial and that kind of thing. They have to wait for the high priest to gather the representatives from the big families. The high priest has to find some olive oil, apply it to the head, and now the judge has the authority to recruit an army and train an army, and then can go off chasing around the countryside, getting the bad guys out. But it's not a very effective system. It's not a very efficient system. And increasingly there's a call from the people that they want a king. Yes, that's a Bud Light. I'm nowhere close to campus. But the people say they want a king. They say, maybe if we had a king around here, we wouldn't get invaded all the time. And if we did get invaded, then we'd already have a king and an army, and they could go ahead and chase away the bad guys, and we wouldn't have to wait for this process to happen. Well, this call for a king. Oh, and they said, besides, we want to be like the other countries. All the other countries have kings. We want to have a king. We want to be like the other countries. It's embarrassing not having a king. Travelers pass through our country and they say, who's your king around here? And we have to say, we don't have one. It's embarrassing not having a king. Well, this call for a king is highly unpopular with the last of the judges, and that's a guy named Samuel. Samuel is a major figure in the story, in the Hebrew story. I think even a lot of people who are familiar with the story don't understand how crucial Samuel is for the Hebrew story. In a lot of ways, he's the last of the judges. In a lot of ways, he's the first of the prophets. And I want to be talking about the prophets in a later session. He's one of the major pivotal characters in the story. Well, I've already told you that Samuel is the last of the judges, so that tells you where the story's going here, at least. But this call for a king is highly unpopular. He's persistent. Well, this call for a king is not very popular with Samuel. Samuel says, I should take care of him for a while. Samuel says, look, you don't want a king. You want me to be in charge. I'm the judge. I've got experience. I mean, everything's going just fine. Just leave things alone. Just let me be the judge, and you don't need any king. And the people say, no, we want a king. We want to be like the other countries. And Samuel says, look, you don't want a king. If you get a king, he's going to put income taxes on you. He's going to come up with silly speed limit kind of laws. He's going to draft your sons into the army. You don't want a king. And people say, no, we want a king. And Samuel says, look, if you need a king, let's see, who around here would make a good king? Who would be a good king? I know, I'll be your king. And people said, no, we don't want you to be our king because your two sons are bums and crooks, and we don't want them to be king when you're dead. And Samuel said, oh, okay. You want a king? I'll give you a king. And we enter a time period in Hebrew history that historians call the United Monarchy. Although it's going to take a while to figure out why it's called the United Monarchy, because it doesn't seem very united at first. Well, this is the material that should fill in the gap in that problem with Hebrew Legacy Part 4. So we'll pick this up in the next Panopto session.